number 13 of Pickswise Playbook. I am your host, Chris Rose, joined by our gambling and our microphone expert, the one and only Jared Smith, and our resident offensive lineman and food connoisseur on Thanksgiving in Dallas, Ross Tucker. That's really what I want to get to. That's why you've been invited to this show, Ross. How was it on Thanksgiving Day?
It was amazing. It was amazing. Probably the best press box food I've ever had.
Wow.
I mean, the side carving station with the honey glazed ham and the smoked ribeye, ridiculous. And then just the buffet itself with the fall harvest salad. Obviously, they have the Cowboys' famous mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, stuffing, turkey, gravy, pecan pie, all the desserts, the to-go candy boxes. They had 2 beers on tap after the game. I could live in the Cowboys press box for an extended period of time.
It's better than I had my meal. I got to start going to Cowboys press boxes for Thanksgiving. That's impressive, Ross.
Just be thankful you did not have to call a game in Detroit or New Orleans, because at least you got the good game of the day. My gosh.
Other than the 50 penalties, yes.
Oh, yeah, it was tough to watch at times. Tough to digest.
There will not be an over-under for the number of flags thrown over the next 60 minutes of this show. Once again, we are here to make your Thursdays, your Sundays, your Mondays more enticing in the gambling space. These guys are very good at what they do, so I want you to pay attention. In part because they want to win you money, not only on your bets, but they want to win you free money, as in you don't have to put anything down, okay? We're doing a giveaway on our YouTube comments section. Your number one best bet. You leave it on here, and Pickswise is going to randomly select a subscribing commenter. So you just have to hit the subscribe button. It doesn't mean when you hit that we're charging a monthly fee. That's not what happens. It just means you get our content. And so if you hit your winner, you're going to be entered for a chance to win $100. You have to be a Pickswise YouTube subscriber, and you have to leave the comment before 12:30 Eastern Sunday to be eligible. So that means you can't go back after the Thursday night game between the Cowboys and Saints, see who won, and then say, I think I like the Cowboys. No. We're going to follow that. It has to be Sunday or Monday's games. Do we understand?
No
Everybody
cheating, everybody. No cheating.
No cheating.
Yeah.
We want you to win, but you got to win fairly. And we want you to win by listening to these guys. So you ready to go at it, Jared?
Let's roll. Let's do it.
Ross?
Love it.
Or are you still in a food coma? You okay?
No, I'm good. It's been a while. I've been eating a lot of salad and salmon since then to try to make up for it.
Playing for the tie. That's what we like to do around here. All right, let's get to it. Week 13. And we're going to start off with the Sunday night affair. It's the Denver Broncos. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. Hard to believe, but guys, this is the battle for first place in the AFC West, right? You've got Kansas City in there at 7-4. You got the Broncos, the Bolts, and the Raiders are all there on their heels at 6-5. Kansas City, a double-digit favorite, even though they are 1-5 against the spread at home this year. Is that possible? Ross?
Yes.
Do you believe in the Chiefs, even though they're giving up double digits here?
I believe that the Chiefs are better again. I believe that the Chiefs are playing very well on the defensive side of the ball. And I believe Andy Reid has a terrific track record after the bye, but I don't believe in laying 10 points to the Denver Broncos right now. Broncos have a very solid football team. Broncos have more talent than you think on both sides of the ball. They were really impressive against the Chargers. They have a steady Teddy at quarterback, if you will. I just came up with that. I'm irrationally proud of myself for that, by the way. That made the whole show right there. I could walk steady Teddy at quarterback. That's amazing.
That's it.
Give me some credit for that. Anyway, I like the Broncos with the points. I think it'll be a competitive game. It's a lot of points in the NFL for an offense in Kansas City that's still not exactly firing on all cylinders.
You ready for some explanatory trends? You guys can go ahead and get the drink in.
Ding, ding,
early.
ding.
Ding, ding, ding. So Teddy Bridgewater as an underdog, 26-9 against the number. Teddy Bridgewater as a road underdog, 20-5 against the number. That's 80%. Teddy Bridgewater as a road dog of 3 points or more, 15-2, 88% against the spread in his career. And by the way, those 2 ATS losses, one of them was back in 2014 to the Saints. The other one was to the Bucks. He covered last year with the Panthers as a 10-point dog in Kansas City. So it's almost like history just has a funny way of repeating itself. Now, Ross did mention Andy Reid off the bye. More trends for you. 15-3 straight up, 14-8 against the spread. These are non-playoff games, by the way. Obviously, there's been some playoff games off the bye that I think are a little bit different. That doesn't really hold a lot of water here. And I would say 10 points is probably too many as well. How about Creed Humphrey? I'm going to give Ross's centers a shout out here. He's been phenomenal for the Chiefs this year. And I do think Kansas City's playing better in the trenches, which is why you've seen their record kind of gradually increase, not only against the number, but also straight up over the last few weeks. But I do think this is a divisional game. It's going to be back and forth. I like how the Denver defense has played as well. I think the defense keeps them in it. And hey, steady Teddy. I mean, how can I not use that phrase after Ross coined it? Genius.
Jared, I don't know if this is an explanatory trend because I still don't understand what the hell that is when it comes out of your mouth. But Kansas City has scored fewer than 25 points in 5 straight home games. So you just have to look at it this way. If you're on Denver, can they score 2 touchdowns and a field goal against a much improved Kansas City defense? Can they do that? Because if so, then you're going to cover.
They played well against the Chargers last week, defensively especially, and they're going to have to play really well again this week defensively.
They've been a great defense all year.
Yeah.
That's something that really hasn't gone, in the toilet at all for them. They've been inconsistently offensively, but not defensively. They've been really good. All right, let's move on to another AFC West team. The Bolts are on the road in the Queen City, Cincinnati Bengals, a pair of second-place teams going at it, a pair of second-year quarterbacks in Herbert and Burrow. You look at the line, Cincinnati right now favored by right around a field goal. Oh, no. You know why I'm super excited? You know why, Jared?
I do know why. I would be more excited for me than for Ross, but we'll see. Like I said, Ross is a second-half player, second-half team.
What do you have here, Jared?
So I think this game is like a put up or shut up game for both of these teams. The Chargers have kind of floundered a little bit of late, and I think it's all about the running game for Cincinnati and how it matches up with the Chargers. Obviously, the Chargers are the worst team in the NFL stopping the run, 32nd in DVOA. The analytics say they're the worst team in the NFL. The regular stats, yards per game, say they're the worst team in the NFL. And if they do try to take away Joe Mixon, who has been absolutely lights out over the last few weeks, well, that's going to open up the rest of this offense for Joe Burrow. And I'll be honest, Burrow hasn't had to do a whole lot. So the Bengals have scored 73 points in the last 2 weeks, and Burrow's only thrown for 338 yards in both of those games. So he hasn't really had to do any heavy lifting because the defense, because Joe Mixon has been so just absolutely dynamic. And I think getting 3 here is probably where this game lands. I did see some early action on Cincinnati. You're going to probably have to pay for the 3, but I am seeing a little bit of buyback on the Chargers. Maybe if you wait, this does get back to the 3 -120, -125 range later this weekend, because I think the public is going to be on the Bengals as well. But anything 3 or less for me at home is a play for Cincy. I just don't see the Chargers being able to stop the run.
I'm going to go with the Chargers. And I think Jared makes a good point about the run game. The Bengals offensive line has played much better than anybody thought they would, myself included, coming into the year. I love the way Joe Mixon and that team can pound people, especially late in games. But this is sort of where I guess my former player intuition comes in, which may or may not be right, but that's where it's coming from. It just feels like after the Chargers lost by 2 touchdowns against the Broncos, I feel like they're going to bounce back. I feel like they're going to play much better. And I think what Jared said initially about, I don't know if he said this is a put up or shut up game or whatever. I think it's a put up or shut up game for the Chargers. I don't really think it is for the Bengals. The Bengals just smashed the Steelers. They swept them. Everybody's happy. Everybody's patting them on the back. I think the Chargers are the hungrier team in this game. I think it's a field goal game either way. I'll take the 3 points.
I'll close with one thing here. Strength of schedule. Chargers play the toughest schedule in the league this year, which I think is noteworthy. And also this, I think, might be a bad weather game from what or later in the week, we might get more information about the forecast. But right now, what I see today, rain, wind on Sunday in Cincinnati. So
somebody's got his AMS seal of approval here.
I am a local news, broadcaster from my background. So I've worked with plenty of meteorologists in my past.
Jared's traffic on the 7s coming your way momentarily as well. By the way, hey, Jared, don't you have a futures bet on the Bengals to win the division and Staley to be coach of the year? So
yes, 4-1 on the Bengals. Man, I was really hoping the Browns were going to get across the finish line on Sunday. That would have really tilted.
You and me both, brother.
Yeah, that was a tough game on multiple scales, not only for the straight up, but also for the spread. That late field goal by Justin Tucker was just so unnecessary. The Staley future, I think at this point, is kind of a dead stick because of just how good, especially in the conference with Belichick and in the other conference with Kingsbury. I think it's going to be tough for Staley to overtake that. But I think the Bengals still have a chance to win the division. I do, especially if they win this week and they got one more game in hand against the Ravens.
Yeah, and they already beat the Ravens in Baltimore. Yep. So, yeah, very much. You're going to throw on your little Bengal stripes, your little Icky Woods jersey. You can wear that to the show because apparently Ross doesn't care about representing the company anymore. That has flown by the wayside so significantly.
Look, I look very professional, number one. Secondly, I got a button-down shirt on because I'm going right to a speaking engagement as soon as we're done recording. And also, even when I wear my Pickswise gear, all right, you can't see it because it's too low. So I figured rather than wearing Pickswise gear
or something
like you guys are wearing, why don't I just class up the joint a little bit and look better than you guys, look like a little more highfalutin.
How about we get you a Pickswise ascot for right here across the neck?
Used to wear on the air.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just wear a Pickswise hat. It's the only thing. You know, my head covers the whole monitor. My head covers the whole thing. So I need a hat or to like tattoo Pickswise on my forehead. Maybe shave it into my beard. Something
some earrings
related is what we really need here.
Didn't Deion Sanders have the primetime earrings, right?
Are you speaking again at the middle school sports awards banquet for the 8th straight year? Is that what it is?
No.
Here he is, former NFL offensive lineman. All right, let's move on. Vikings are currently the 8th seed. They had a tough loss last week out in the Bay Area. And keep in mind, they are the only team in the NFL that has led every game by at least 7 points this year. Vikings are a ton of fun to watch, but they're on the road, and they're a touchdown-ish favorite here. Ross, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think this is the right number. I don't really even have a lean either way. I guess if I had to, I would probably go with the Vikings because no DeAndre Swift is a problem for the Lions. They try to funnel their whole offense through him. He's clearly their number one skill position guy, whereas no Dalvin Cook for the Vikings, Alexander Mattison. I mean, he comes in and plays really well every time. Honestly, if you're just like watching the Red Zone channel and not actually watching the game, you can't even tell if it's Dalvin Cook or Alexander Mattison. They got the same hair. They run the same way. I can't tell the difference. Whatever. I would, if I had to, a forced lean would be to the Vikings bouncing back from that tough loss to the Niners.
Public on the Vikings this week, obviously. Line actually did move. The hook evaporated after the Dalvin Cook news. So, we say running backs don't really matter on the point spread. It mattered a little bit here because that's a key number to go from 7.5 to 7. The one thing that odds makers mentioned to me when I asked them about this game this week, kind of a look-ahead spot, Thursday night coming up for Minnesota against Pittsburgh next week. So we always say sometimes the Thursday night game is tough, but the Sunday before the Thursday game sometimes can be a little bit tricky. I definitely would not lay on the road with Minnesota. If I do get 7.5, because the public's going to hammer Minnesota at, probably throughout the week. If I do get 7.5 with Detroit, that would be the slightly sharp angle. But this game is a pass for me officially.
Well, the Lions might be winless, gentlemen. They're good against the spread. They're sneaky good. They're 7-4 this year against the spread. Ross, you're not impressed. You should be impressed.
No, I am impressed, except the problem is the 4 they've lost against the spread, those are most of the time when I back them. Except for Thanksgiving. I had them on Thanksgiving against the Bears. Thank you very much, Lions. That was a good dog for me, so thank you, Lions.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, speaking of the Chicago Bears, they welcome in the best team in football, at least record-wise, into town. It's the Arizona Cardinals. They're currently the number 1 seed in the NFC playoff chase. We have to watch the quarterback news again. Kyler Murray was back out on the practice field this week. All signs are pointing toward him playing, but we thought that was going to happen recently, and it hasn't happened. D-Hop is back on the practice field as well. And for Chicago, Justin Fields, who missed the Thanksgiving Day game with bad ribs, is back on the practice field, but it's Andy Dalton getting the first-team reps. So with this much movement, particularly at the quarterback position, you're already shaking your head, Jared. I haven't even asked the question. What are you thinking?
This is a tough game to peg. So I think Arizona's going to win the game, but the fact that the line hasn't really moved an inch is pretty telling to me. From what we're hearing, pretty good two-way action actually on both sides early in the week. Now, again, still early in the week, but I don't really see a lean here on the spread, but I do like Arizona in a teaser because it's a low total game and it's getting through both of those key numbers. The most impactful teaser that you can bet is the favorite of 7.5, 8.5 down to under a field goal in a lower total game. That's always my favorite teaser to bet, and this is the one spot we have this week to bet it. So even if it is Dalton, even if it is Fields, I really don't care. As long as it's Kyler Murray, I feel very good about the Cardinals winning this game.
Well, listen, I think the Bears offense moves better with Andy Dalton than it does with Justin Fields. But I'm with you. I love the Cardinals as a teaser leg. I'm showing them laying 7.5 right now. Get that down to 1.5. Boy, it would be surprising if they lost the game to the Bears. And if they win, it's going to be, you would think, in whatever percentage chance that it's more than 2 points or more. So love them as a teaser leg. Would never want to just lay the 7.5. You don't want to lay the hook over a key number. Tease them down, pair them with maybe the Colts or Washington. We'll talk about that later in the show. I am teasing that we're going to talk about teasers later to compel you to watch the rest of our program.
Love it.
Pat yourself on the back.
He's
there,
a pro.
Steady Teddy.
He's a pro.
Yeah. By the way, the Cardinals, 6-0 on the road this year and putting up a league best 33 points per game away from home.
Wow.
They put up 33 in this game. They're going to lap the field.
Yeah.
I don't care who's playing quarterback for the other team. All right. Speaking of a team that can score, the Bucs on the road for the second straight week in a dome stadium. Last week, really fun game to watch in Indianapolis. This week, they are reunited with their division foe, the Atlanta Falcons. And let's just keep in mind that back in week 2, the Bucs dropped a season best 48. Here they are, a double-digit favorite against an Atlanta team that is still in this playoff chase, Ross.
They are. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing people forget. The Falcons are actually pretty decent. I know it doesn't look like it. I know they've won 5 games. They have the same record as Washington, who would be in the playoffs if they started today. They're a much better team when they have Cordero Patterson in the lineup. There are some reports of him playing defense this week. Go for it. Their defense isn't that great. I don't care. Put them everywhere. Open up the Chick-fil-A, even though it's Sunday. Put Cordero Patterson in, turn the Chick-fil-A on, and stay competitive against the Bucs. 11 points. That's a beautiful number for an underdog. Beautiful number.
Now I want Chick-fil-A.
Even if they're down 17 and Matty Ice gets a garbage backdoor touchdown at the end of the game, I don't care. Just cover the 11 points. Falcons.
Atlanta looked okay last week. I know it's the Jags, but they moved it well. They scored some points, which I know they were coming off that Thursday game against the Pats, which was just dreadful. The Bucs do not play defense like the Pats do. Obviously, the Jags don't either. I do think 11 points is a lot. Great stat here by our producer, Jack Extraordinaire. Matt Ryan's never beaten Tom Brady in his career. Mm-hmm. Never. And I think 1-6 against the spread. So that would, again, a lot of those games are with New England. And, last year Atlanta, I think, was significantly worse than this year, especially with Arthur Smith calling plays. But I would lean Atlanta. This isn't a play for me, but I would agree with Ross that if you're going to bet this game, I think taking over double digits is a decent way to play it in a divisional game, especially.
I know these two teams are different than when they met in week 2, particularly the Atlanta Falcons, but does it scare you at all that the Bucs almost dropped 50 on them, Ross, in week 2, and that Brady threw for 5 touchdowns? Like, none of that. If you're a gambler and you look at that, you say, well, why is it going to be different this time around? I get it. It's a couple months later, but really.
I remember that game being 28-24 till like midway through the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and then it was like 2 pick sixes.
Super competitive.
Yeah.
It was like 2 pick sixes late that really skewed it. Yeah.
Yes. I remember that game being competitive. That's the game I remember, Chris.
Okay. Easy there. Step off there. We'll send you back to the buffet.
Still got that carving station ready to go.
I think your stomach is
ravenous.
Grumbling a little bit at me. Jeez. All right, let's talk about the team that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just took care of last week, the Indianapolis Colts. They are a huge favorite on the road, more than a touchdown, down in Houston. These two teams met earlier this year in Indy with the Colts winning 31-3. That day, Jonathan Taylor ran wild. I think he had like 14 carries for 145 yards. I'm no math major, but that's at least 10 yards per carry. the Texans, it feels like they haven't gotten any better since then. All right, Jared, let's start with you on this one.
Yeah, this is another great teaser spot. Again, you're taking a favorite of 7.5 to 9 in that range, and you're moving it to under that key number of 3. This is a relatively low total game in the mid to slight high 40s, but it's still under that threshold where I would call it a high total game, which is right around 50 or 51. And the Texans just got gashed for 157 rushing yards by the Jets. So what do you think the Colts are feeling right now coming in after that really tough loss where I think they were in that game? They probably felt they should have won that game. They had a lead at half against the Bucs. This is a bounce back spot for them. And I don't see how Indy loses this game. This is probably, if I had to rank my teaser spots this week, this is number 1 on the card for the teaser.
Love it. Concur with Dr. Smith. I mean, listen, the Colts aren't losing this game. I realize the Texans got to win against the Titans, but this is a good Colts team. I mean, they would have beat the Bucs if they didn't have so many turnovers. They didn't even run it great against the Bucs, and they still should have won the game. Really, if I had to, I would even lay it with the Colts, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tease it down from 8.5 to 2.5, cover my bases a little bit.
Did you guys see the fan in Indianapolis, the cutaway of him last week wearing the hat that said "Run the damn football"?
Yeah, yes. I did see that.
Yeah.
I did see that.
It was excellent. And they should with Jonathan Taylor. He could have a rushing touchdown in 10 straight games. It's trivia time, guys. It's been 17 years since somebody has had a rushing touchdown in 10 straight games. Anybody want to guess?
Can you give me the division that they play?
No. Let me try for LaDainian Tomlinson.
That's a good guess.
Yeah.
Oh, good job, Ross. Wow, Ross is on fire today.
Forget it.
Wow.
That was 2004, which was
his big year, right?
One of my years that I played a lot. I started 12 or 13 games that year, and I remember Tomlinson. I don't know if he was the MVP, but I think he broke the touchdown record that year, one of those years. So that was going to be my guess.
I think he was the MVP in 06, maybe a couple years later.
Is that when it was?
Where he got the 20.
I knew one year he scored, a couple years he scored a ton of touchdowns.
Yes.
So that was the guess.
That's a good one. It's a good. You
job,
can use
Ross.
that when you're talking to the 6th graders later today at the award banquet. Just throw that. 2006 MVP, our producer extraordinaire, Jack.
Oh, good job, Jack. Quick on the trigger.
Good job, Rose. I was the one that said it. He just looked it up. You know what, Jared? You never want to give me any credit, and Ross doesn't want to look me in the eye ever. I get it.
Thumbs up on all your nuggets today, Chris. You're doing a fantastic job.
That's okay. I don't need that much love anymore. Just kick me to the curb. You know what? If I wanted to be treated this way, I would have continued to have a discussion with my wife before the show. All right, enough. Here we go. Oh, this is a fun one. The Washington football team and the Las Vegas Raiders. It's kind of a rematch of Super Bowl 18, although one team's moved and another team doesn't have a nickname anymore. So, Ross will know this. Jared, you're too young for this. What linebacker? Because Ross, how old are you? 42?
42.
All right. Well, you might. Do you remember watching Super Bowl 18?
No, that was before my time, I think.
Forget it. I won't.
Yeah.
Ask it.
Is that? I think the question you're going to ask, though,
Yeah.
I think the answer is Jack Squirick.
It is. God, you are awesome. You are on fire. The question.
I don't even know what the question is. I just know what I've heard about that Super Bowl.
Today?
People bring up Jack Squirick. You know what that was right there? That was Bill Murray in Groundhog Day.
That was wild.
When he's watching Jeopardy and he says, "What is the rhyme? What is Titicaca?" That was my favorite scene of any movie ever.
That's a great. First of all, tremendous
It's
movie.
Bill Murray knowing the Jeopardy answers ahead of time. I just did it on the Pickswise Playbook. If you're not subscribing, what is going through your skull right now, as John Gruden would say? I guessed the right answers to questions that haven't even been asked.
Can you guess the right teams that are going to win this week, though?
We got to do Jeopardy. What is who is the guy that had a pick six in that game?
Yes, who is the guy who had the pick six right before halftime to basically seal the deal? And it was Jack Squirick. That is great. He's on the cover of Sports Illustrated back
Tremendous.
when it wasn't like regional covers. Like being on the cover of Sports Illustrated was the thing to be. So there's the shot of him holding up the football. And he had just, because Theismann was throwing a screen pass to Joe Washington out of the backfield. The two teams had played earlier in the year, and the Raiders got beat on a 75-yard screen pass to Joe Washington. So they were trying to run it again right before the half. Squirick recognized it, picked it off, ran it into the end zone. It's a good call. Good job, Ross. Man, I'm impressed. God, I don't even want to talk about the game now. It's so exciting. But let's
I'll talk about it. I can talk about it.
So the Raiders are favored right around a field goal. Both these teams are in the thick of the playoff chase. In fact, Washington, as you mentioned, enters as the 7th seed. The Raiders are on the 8th seed. They still have dreams of a division title. There's a lot going on here. So, Ross, what do you got?
I got the Washington football team in a teaser. I love the way they're playing. I love the way their O-line and D-line are playing. Heineke's not turning it over. They're doing a heck of a job running the football. Gibson had a big night on Monday night. The D-line, the defense has been really good, even though they don't have Montez Sweat or Chase Young. And so if I can tease them up to 8.5 and pair it with either the Colts or the Cardinals, I think that's a great teaser. Be very surprised if the Raiders blew the Washington football team out of this game the way Ron Rivera has that group playing.
Sandwich game for both teams, which is weird because the Raiders have the Chiefs next week and Washington has the Cowboys. So it's like which team is going to mentally show up for this game? They're both coming off big wins. Vegas is getting more rest Thursday to Sunday. Washington a little bit of a short week. I agree that this is a teaser or pass for me. Again, you're getting a team that should be in it, 2.5 point underdog, and you're moving it through that key number of 7. That's a very impactful teaser, especially in a relatively low total game. But I would say if I had to rank my teaser spots this week, this is probably 3rd, with Arizona, Indy being 1, Arizona being 2, and Washington being 3. This is a tough one. I think the line's telling you it's tough because they're not really giving you much action on Washington plus 2.5. It's actually juiced to the other side on Vegas. So I'll probably stay away from the spread, but this is a decent teaser spot with Washington. I do think it's a close game, but there could be a letdown from one of these teams mentally because of the big game coming up next week for both. So that could lead to a maybe blowout. But I would say Washington on a teaser is a pretty valuable leg, I think.
All right, Ross, I want to ask you about that as a player, what Jared's bringing up here. It sounds like it makes sense in terms of a letdown game. But with the way the standings are, and I can never remember a season where this many teams are within a game of a playoff chase, that you can't afford. To me, it sounds like it's ridiculous. Like Washington's thinking about Dallas next week. Like there's no way that Ron Rivera could let that happen or players would let that seep into their mind. Am I right here or am I wrong?
Totally right. I mean, I don't believe in look ahead spots. I do believe in let down after the prior game. I think the prior game has potentially more impact on the present game than the future game does, if that makes sense.
It does. And that's why it's a sandwich.
After that?
Because both, the sandwich, that's why it's like coming off of a win with a big game next week. That it's like a double almost.
I think you'd be amazed how many guys in the Washington football team don't even know who they play next week.
That's fair.
I always am amazed. The guys have no idea about.
Well, Kelsey on the Manning cast that one time didn't know who he was playing. Remember?
Yeah, you'd be very surprised.
Yeah,
makes sense.
And especially if you ask them who they play in a couple weeks.
But here's the counterpoint. The coaches know who they play next week, and you're not putting as much on tape, perhaps. You're changing the game plan maybe a little bit. Hey, I don't want to show them this really trick play. I'm going to save it for next week. It's a little more of a vanilla game plan. I mean, I'm just trying to spitball here. Clearly,
yeah, I would just stop.
Not feeling any of it.
None of it is even close to the truth.
Okay.
They're going to do everything they can to beat the Raiders this week, and then everything they can to beat the Cowboys next week. They're not holding anything back because they play the Cowboys next week.
It's fair.
Let's get to a divisional game. The Niners and the Seahawks. The Niners are smoking right now. They're back above 500 for the first time since week 3, and they are taking on a franchise which is in flux. I honestly believe that. I don't think this is just a bad year. I think this organization in Seattle has to take a kind of a deep cleanse and a deep look at itself, because right now they are not scoring. They are 0-3 since Russ came back. They are averaging less than 10 points per game with him. I know his finger's screwed up. I know he ain't throwing, but something is totally wrong here. So why do I look at this point spread, Jared, and go, why aren't the Niners favored by like 6 or 7? Why is it 3?
Well, the reason why it's 3 is because it was a pick 'em last week. San Francisco looked good against Minnesota, and it moved to 2.5 on Sunday, and then the line locked on Monday before Seattle's game, and it reopened 3.5. I saw some 3s out there. You could probably still find a 3. You might have to pay 15 or 20 cents for it, but there's still a few 3s floating around there in the market. And so it's really hard to say, and we'll get to a game in a little bit that has moved significantly from a look ahead, really significantly, but it's really hard to push a line more than 3 points in just a week. Because it's just, you have people on the other side of the books are overexposed. But I agree with you. I do think San Francisco is the right side here. So the narrative behind the Niners earlier in the year was their defense wasn't playing well. Well, they're up to 10th in DVOA. So that narrative is now a thing of the past. They're getting healthy on defense. They're playing well on defense. They got beat up a little bit by Minnesota. But listen, Minnesota's been moving the ball really well. So I think Seattle is not moving it nearly as well as Minnesota is. Yards per play the last 3 weeks, the Niners are above 5.5. Seattle's under 5. So it does seem like these two teams are going in opposite direction. And I asked the bookmakers this week. So there's a lot of separation in the futures market right now from the top 9 up. You've got those 5 good teams in the NFC, the 2 out west. You got the Bucks, the Cowboys, and the Packers. In the AFC, Bills, Ravens, Chiefs. And then after that, there is a significant drop off to the bottom, tier teams. All the bookmakers we talked to this week said the Niners at 40-1, the one team other than maybe the Titans that they would consider as a futures market play outside of that top 9 group, because they're a team that has looked really good in prior years. They were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they're starting to get hot. So I really like San Francisco this week a lot.
We got to, on the games where Jared and I feel the same way, we got to go to me first sometimes, because I agree with a lot of what Jared just said. Okay, listen. Seattle is done. They should be. It's only right if they're forced to trade their quarterback in the offseason to the Cleveland Browns to try to make amends. Look at Chris. That was the happiest that Chris has ever been. His eyes just got so big. I did it on purpose, Chris. I know you're a Browns fan. Anyway,
I know.
Here's
and
the
because
point.
you also know it's not going to happen, because there's no way that Mama's going to sign off on her moving to Cleveland.
No, he's going to go to the Giants, I think. But at any rate, listen, here's what everybody needs to know. Seahawks are so bad. They're so bad up front right now on both sides of the ball. The Niners, even without Debo, they've got Elijah Mitchell. They know who they are now.
Yeah.
Look, the trends are very clear for both these teams. I think you ride the trend of Niners good, Seahawks bad until proven otherwise.
I left one team out, the Pats, or that other team in the top 9 of the futures market. The 5 in the NFC, Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, and Pats in the AFC. Those 9 have kind of separated themselves as Super Bowl contenders. The Niners are a team that odds makers can see inserting themselves into that conversation over the next few weeks.
And there is one other thing about the Niners. They've won 4 of their last 5 and scored at least 30 in each one of those wins. They got it cooking on both sides of football. Just saying. Let's move on to a team that does not. The LA Rams. The star-studded Rams. Do you know that record-wise, they had a worse November than the Detroit Lions, who haven't won this year? Yeah. So now the good news for them is Jacksonville comes out to SoFi this week. But let's look at it in the gambling space, where the Rams are nearly a 2-touchdown favorite. Ross, I will give you the choice. Would you like to start with the ball, or would you like to defer?
I'm going to start with the ball. And honestly, I'm not playing this game, but if I did, I would lay the points. This is a get-right game for the Rams. They need to get their mojo back, their swagger back. The entire Rams organization looked at their schedule and they're like, oh, yes, Jaguars, yes. And I just think they're going to come out, and I don't think McVay's going to take his foot off the gas. I think he's trying to get the confidence back for that O-line, for the D-line, for Stafford. If you're going to play this game, the only way I would play it is laying the big number with the Rams, which I never do in the NFL. It's too many points, but I wouldn't take the points with the Jags. I'd rather lay it with the Rams.
Ross, do you think the Rams are looking ahead to the Cardinals game next week?
Absolutely not. They've just lost a bunch of games in a row. They're looking ahead to getting a win and then having a beer after the game after they finally win.
I just had to ask before I give out my pick. So I'm very close to adding the Rams to my card, like almost like on the edge, because I agree. I think that if McVay has a chance to drop 50 in this game, he will. And it does feel like there's going to be a spot where LA, the talent is there. I mean, for them to lose the games that they've lost over the last few weeks, the way that they've lost them, it doesn't line up to where the talent level is on this team. Eventually, over the long haul, the talent will catch up to the results. This is one of those games that I could see the talent catching up to the results. And the Jags looked really bad against the Falcons last week, and that is not a good carryover here. So I would say the Rams are really close to making my card. I'm just not there yet because I want to see if this does get close to 14. It's a little concerning that the line has moved kind of in Jacksonville's favor, despite the fact that everyone's betting the Rams. But if this starts to get towards 13 and a half later in the week, I'll probably put a little half-unit sprinkle on the Rams.
You know, the Rams are really struggling on both sides of the ball. It's not one thing, right? They're during this 3-game losing streak, they're scoring about 18 per game. They're giving up about 32 per game. But really, this is about Matthew Stafford. And guys, I live in Los Angeles, so I hear what the local talk has been. For the first 6-7 weeks, everybody's like, we are so much better with Matthew Stafford than Jared Goff. You know, the records might be similar, but we just feel different. And now Stafford, for the first time, like when they struggled in Detroit, it was because the organization sucked for decades. Now, when you come out and you join and you are the centerpiece of this shiny franchise and then things are going sideways, Stafford's getting some gripe for the first time in his career. Ross, does something confidence-wise, does he have kind of regained his mojo?
I don't think you heard, Chris. He's dealing with some injuries.
A lot.
I mean, this is terrible. This is a professional football player in December and November trying to deal with injuries. I mean, this is probably the first time it's ever happened. I think we should maybe say prayers for Matthew Stafford. I mean, we got Vita Vea's tooth popping out.
That was
mid-play.
something right there.
Yet every week I have to hear a Sunday Splash report about a quarterback who's fighting through injuries. Taking 3 steps back and then throwing a football? I mean, cry me a river, dude.
He's been a guy that's been chronically hurt over his career, though, which is scary. That scares me.
You better be careful or a pretzel's going to come flying in your direction. I'm just telling you, brother. Better be careful.
I would eat it.
If it fell on the ground, do you have a 3-second rule or is it like a 3-minute rule?
I have like a 10-second rule, I'd say. I give myself a little bit of buffer.
Can we be honest? If the pretzel falls on the ground and just lies in the same area and nobody steps on it, is it going to get any dirtier if it sits there for a minute?
No.
Of
course not.
So you're just trying to make yourself feel better with a cutoff time.
Correct.
So there should be no over-under clock on the pretzel.
It's just a saying, Chris.
What's the DVOA on that, Jared?
It's an explanatory trend, but I would say 10 seconds for.
Did we drink before this show? What happened
Pickswise.
This is great. I've lost my track. Where are we?
Giants,
Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Here we are. Giants, Dolphins. Oh, well, I should have drank before this game. All right, so the Giants sounds like Daniel Jones. You could not make this one up. Daniel Jones is probably missing this game with a strained neck. So who's replacing him? Mike Glennon, Mr. Neck himself.
That's can't make it up. It writes itself, Chris.
Right? It does. It's like somebody is out with a strained quad and is replaced by Saquon Barkley. Like it's almost hilarious. I hope Daniel Jones is okay, but still. So the Dolphins red hot. They won 4 in a row. Don't they have back-to-back games against the Giants and the Jets now? Like they're sniffing 500. They're right. Ross, I'm going to give you a chance again. Would you like to take the ball or defer?
I'm going to take the ball. I like the Dolphins. I will say this. I got them earlier in the week when they were -3 before the Daniel Jones news came out. It's a little bit different now that some places have them laying 4.5 with the Daniel Jones news. I don't think Mike Glennon is ready for all that smoke that he's going to get from the Dolphins defense right now. Jalen Phillips, Emmanuel Ogbah playing very well. Javon Holland on the back end.
Great.
And don't look now. Say it quietly. Tua's pretty good. Tua's not that bad. We all kind of forgot. Tua's pretty decent. The Giants beat the Eagles. I watched every snap of that game. I mean, they're not good, dude. 3 interceptions for Hurts in the red zone. Boston Scott fumbles in Giants territory. That's not happening again. I'll lay the points with the Dolphins.
Ross doing some shopping at jaredfakelines.com this week, getting that 3 with Miami. It's a very impressive stuff there, bud. I was hanging that earlier, and we had to take it down after the Glennon news. So Ross is also spot on about Tua. How about these numbers? In the month of November, Tua leads the NFL in completion percentage. He is 4th in passer rating, 2nd in yards per attempt. I mean, and Jalen Waddle looks, I don't want to say rookie of the year because I think Mac Jones, because of the body of work, will win it. But if there was like a 19th and a 20th game this year, I would put Jalen Waddle maybe, a little closer to the pack there in the rookie of the year category because he is having a tremendous last 2 months or so. And I think Miami is a live dog down the stretch to make the playoffs. Brian Flores has done a heck of a job. They scored on special teams last week. They're playing better defensively. I mean, there's not a lot of weaknesses in this team. I think they're a strong team in all 3 phases of the game. And now they get a backup quarterback that hasn't played in how long to come in. So I think this is a great spot for Miami. And I would absolutely look to the Dolphins down the stretch. They got a game against the Patriots in Week 18. That is going to be a fascinating matchup to circle your calendars to see what the AFC East will look like, especially if the Bills win this week and things tighten up, or if the Patriots. I mean, the AFC East is very interesting now with Buffalo kind of stumbling just a little bit. And there's some spots open in the AFC playoff race as well. So I think Miami's a great spot this week.
By the way, Miami in their last 5, 4-0-1 against the spread. And just for fun,
what we like.
You could redo the draft right now. Jamar Chase or Jalen Waddle?
I think they're both good fits where they are because Chase and Burrow and Waddle and Tua, the Bama LSU.
Jamar Chase? He hasn't put up any numbers recently. 0.
Yeah,
numbers.
I don't care. Jamar Chase.
The quarterback matters, though, right? Like, they paired them with their teammates. Like, that, I think it makes sense to put them where they are and keep it where it is.
Just wanted to throw that out there. I just like watching Ross's forehead get all crinkly. Like, what the hell are you asking me that stupid question for, you moron? Get back to
pretty
the
much.
Okay. How about this one? Ravens and Steelers. This is unreal what's going on with Pittsburgh. Unbelievable. For the first time ever, they could give up back-to-back 40-point games. Now, I doubt it because the Ravens offense has been all over the place. And Lamar was giving out Christmas gifts early last week, 4 interceptions, and still managed to win a freaking game against my team. But here you go. The Ravens are the number 1 seed. Steelers are on the outside looking in. I'm going to give this one to Jared first. Sorry, Ross.
I don't really have a lot of nice things to say about Pittsburgh right now. The bookmakers, this is a sharp and public side on Baltimore this week, it looks like, especially after the TJ Watt news. I would imagine the Steelers will show some pride at some point and not get blown out. But this is a really tough spot because Baltimore's coming off of a really tough game where they did not play well. And I know they won that game, but Lamar Jackson even said it. He said, I think he played like a high schooler, or one of the quotes I saw this week. So I would expect the Ravens offense to play a lot better than they did, even though Lamar has looked a little shaky coming off of that, the illness. But I would expect him to play better against the Steelers defense that has not looked good. But if there is a spot for Big Ben to bounce back, the Ravens secondary has been torched, and the Steelers have shown at times, especially that game against the Chargers, they can move the ball a little bit. But I would not. I think this is a stay away for me on both sides.
Definitely a stay away from me. I do not have strong opinions on this one. I do think the Steelers will bounce back. That was embarrassing in Cincinnati. Yeah. That almost never happens with the Steelers organization. I expect them to play much better against the Ravens, but I'm not sure how much better that much better is, or if it's enough to beat Baltimore. Ravens aren't exactly firing on all cylinders either, but I don't expect Lamar Jackson to throw 4 picks again. If I had to take a side, I would go with the Ravens laying the points.
We know, we got to keep our eye on the TJ Watt news. They haven't won a game since they drafted him, and he hasn't played. They're 0-4 without him, so it's something to keep in mind. I will say this. Mike Tomlin got a win this week. With the whole Chase Claypool, I think we need to start having music at practice and stuff like that. and Tomlin gets asked about it. And he's like, I will decide the labor chain around here or whatever that line was. Unbelievable. Cam Hayward talking about it. Really? Like, I hope he was joking, because if not, I'm going to rip the speaker out of the wall.
I love Cam Hayward. I love Mike Tomlin. And Chase Claypool is learning a lesson.
He's learned a few of them. Last year, after they got bounced from Cleveland, and he's posting on social media, it's okay, you'll be joining us next week. Like, that doesn't sit well. That doesn't play well.
It's just stupid.
I know. But the Steelers, they got to get back to what they were. I don't think people are afraid of them. You saw Ryan Clark, I'm sure, with his little diatribe talking about people aren't fearful of the Steelers anymore. Ross, are they?
Not really, no. No,
they don't play defense anymore.
It's
not a tough team.
I was really surprised by that performance against the Bengals. Really surprised.
That got out of hand.
Let's get to the perfect right here. The chef's kiss for the Monday night game. The Patriots, who have won 6 in a row and are your AFC East leaders, taking on the Buffalo Bills. We call this the Ross Tucker Bowl. I don't know. Do you get to go up there and ring the bell, or I don't know what they do up there?
Never been invited to any of those things by any of the teams I played for.
Okay.
I wonder why.
That doesn't matter. So the Patriots are getting points on the road. This is so tasty, Ross. I don't know. I don't even know which direction you want to go with this, right? Because the Patriots have been crushing everybody during the 6-game winning streak.
Yeah, I like the Patriots in the points. I think this is a field goal game either way. Patriots are playing awesome right now. Awesome. They've been so consistent. Both sides of the ball, O-line, defense, Mac Jones. Bills are a little bit more of a roller coaster. Now, if the Bills are up on the roller coaster, then they could take care of business and you could lay the points. But I don't know that's going to happen. And I think even if the Bills are up, still might be a field goal game. If the Bills are down, the Patriots win. They've been so consistent. Like I said, I like the Patriots in the points. I got them at +3.
This game's all about line analysis to me. Preseason, this number was Buffalo -7. Before the streak for the Patriots a few weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, after they lost to the Cowboys, this line was 6. Now I'm seeing 2.5. Ross is right. Buffalo is a roller coaster team. So is New England. Variance-wise, Buffalo has the highest variance in the NFL this year by a wide margin. New England, though, right behind them, only 5 spots back. Strength of schedule-wise, both teams have played really poor schedules. The Bills have the worst. New England has the 3rd worst. So there's a lot of similarities here. And if you're going to tell me there's a lot of analytical and statistical similarities, and I'm getting 4.5 points of a value from the preseason look-ahead line, 4 points, 3.5 points value from the 6 week ago look-ahead line, and I get Josh Allen over Mac Jones at home in prime time, and the public is going to be hammering the Patriots, which they are at a very high clip, I think this is my 2-unit play of the week on ball. I love the Bills this week. I think this is a spot where they show you that they are the best team or one of the best teams in the NFL. They haven't showed it a lot lately, but I think this is a week where they get a chance to, in prime time on Monday night against Bill Belichick. Very interesting game this week, and I think Buffalo's prime for a big spot.
Ross has got that who farted look on his face. I love it. He really gave it to him.
I'm surprised he loves them as much as they do. However, I have affinity for the Buffalo Bills. Out of all the teams I played for, I think that'd be great if that happens. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it'd be great. I hope you're right.
First of 2 meetings between these two teams. It's hard to believe we got to week 13 and they haven't matched up yet. Same with Pittsburgh and Baltimore, by the way. Weird things in the schedule happening. Oh, it's teaser time, my favorite. I love teaser time. Teaser time. We have to come up with a jingle so I don't have to say something stupid like that. Jared.
I'll save you from that. Indy's the number 1 teaser spot of the week. We talked about how the Texans struggle to stop the run. That's the best thing the Colts do. They're coming off of a loss, bounce back spot. Arizona, 2nd on the card, getting them from 7.5 to 1.5. I think they win the game as well. And I would put Ross's football team that he's going to give out in a second as 3rd on my ranking list. But if I'm going to play one teaser this week as my best teaser of the week, it's Indy and it's Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, look, we already talked about these earlier in the show, so I guess we just recap them for people that weren't really paying attention or people that are really into teasers and fast forward. I don't know. But the point is if you weren't paying attention in class earlier, make sure you tease the Cardinals, the Colts, and I like Washington football team more than Jared does, up to 8.5. I have not. My teaser cashed last week. Dolphins, Colts. That was good. So hopefully I can keep that rolling.
We both cashed teasers last week. It was a good week for teasers.
Ross, don't get rid of the teaser segment because then the company will not pay for a teaser jingle, which I'm really fighting for at this point. Okay? If there's one thing I would like the bosses to do, it's pay for a teaser jingle. Just something.
How about Be Cool Beta teaser? Be Cool Beta teaser.
Sounds like the Limbo song.
No, it's the Be Cool Eater Rita's. Rita's Italian Ice.
Oh, love some good Ritas.
You know what that is, Jared?
If you're a Long Island guy, though, it's Ralph's. That's the Long Island one.
It's regional, but it's Be Cool Eater Rita's. Be Cool.
Everyone loves Ralph's Italian Ices on Long Island. If there's any Long Island viewers or listeners, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes, both of you. Okay, here we go to the Thursday night game. Cowboys on the road without their head coach. Some people say that might help them. I don't know.
The College Football Playoff Committee doesn't. College Football Playoff Committee. Oh, you don't have your head coach? Oh, no. I mean, how do you know they're not better without him? Like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard them say. By the way, a lot of times when you lose your coach and you get an interim guy, you get a boost for a week. Maybe that should propel Notre Dame up a spot that Kelly ditched them. Maybe they're more motivated now. What a galactically stupid thing to say. What a moronic group of people. Gosh.
So wait, it took.
They're going to find a way, by the way. They're going to find a way to get Cincinnati out of there. They're going to find a way to get Cincinnati out of there. Oklahoma State, Alabama, they're going to do it.
I mean, come on, Oklahoma State. That's the one you want to put in there?
Alabama's the one that can spoil the party, I think.
All right.
Let's
get back to this. Although, download the Pickswise app because we talk a lot of college football there too. Everything should be at your disposal. Let's go.
And watch the morning show with Let's Bet It because we're going to talk about those games a lot later this week.
That's nice. Right. Let's bet it.
Yeah, good work. So let's get to the Thursday game here. Since starting 6-1, the Cowboys have lost 3 of 4. It sounds like we're having a quarterback change in New Orleans, which has not won since Jameis went down for the year with a torn ACL. These teams are all over the place. Dallas is a road favorite. It's a critical game for them. I still feel like they're fine in the NFC East, particularly after Philly lost, on the road against the Giants last week. But you never know. I don't know, Jared, you're kind of shaking your head a little bit here and there. What do you got?
I think Dallas should be scared in the NFC East if Washington keeps playing well, if Ross's football team keeps winning games. I kind of like New Orleans here. It's weird. It's a Thursday night game. I know they're coming off of another Thursday night game, so it's not really the typical Thursday night short rest kind of week. But I think I saw Kamara and Ingram were practicing. I saw Armstead was back, their left tackle. So, we're not going to know if those guys are playing, but it's always interesting when running backs practice earlier in the week because I think that trends in the right direction. And, man, New Orleans has looked bad on defense the last 2 weeks. They got gashed by Philly. They got gashed by Buffalo. This is, again, kind of like the Rams, very talented defense that is not playing up to the back of their football card, the back of their baseball card, as the saying goes. I think the results eventually will start to play better. And I think the Cowboys are kind of in this weird limbo spot, especially defensively. They have been really bad defensively over the last few weeks. And if there's a get-right situation for the New Orleans offense with Taysom Hill, with the inconsistencies that they've had, I think it's a Dallas defense that has just been bleeding yards over the last few weeks. So I'm getting 4.5 points at home in a tough home environment. There's not a lot of tough home environments out there in the NFL anymore. The Saints still have one, I think. And it's a primetime game, and I think Sean Payton's going to show some pride. Their backs are against the wall. They're fighting for their playoff lives. This isn't my favorite play of the week, but I think the Saints are a lean here, getting 4.5.
Weird game. I think the Cowboys looks like Amari Cooper will play. That's significant, really significant. Okay. I think that Dak has been lacking at wide receiver. They'll get CeeDee Lamb back. That's enough for me to lean to the Cowboys, getting those 2 receivers back. But Taysom Hill is a wild card, and Taysom Hill, look, they can't be any worse moving the ball with Taysom Hill than they had been the last couple games. So I think that I understand Jared's logic for sure.
All right. Total about 47.5. That do anything for you, Ross? Yay or nay?
Not really. I'm not very good at totals, I've decided.
Me
I
neither.
had the under on Thanksgiving. Good call there.
Yep. You mean
Yeah,
the
me too.
under 30 penalty flags thrown? Because you just
I
beat it.
wish.
All right. Jared?
Yeah, I haven't been great with. I think I'm like 1-5 picking totals this year. It's not been a very strong point of my handicapping season. I think this. Listen, the Saints have given up like 75 points in the last 2 weeks. It's something like that. Again, defensively, that's what they're known for. They are a really good defensive team, especially in the secondary. And if you're going to tell me Lattimore on Lamb this week, maybe Lattimore on Cooper, I'll be fascinated to see how that matchup works and how New Orleans kind of shifts their secondary. I would lean under. But I'm not really great with totals this year, so do not take that advice.
All right, let's do this because you guys are both good at this. The anytime touchdown. It's fun. It can make people some money. I want you each to give me 2 anytime touchdown scores. All right, big man with football. Let's go.
I'll start with Taysom Hill. Yeah, I think he's going to be a starting quarterback. I think plus 190 is a really good number for Taysom Hill. You know, if they move the ball better, get down near the goal line, if he's starting and he's playing, they're going to use him. Taysom Hill plus 190. I won't take both my guys. I'll let Jared get one. You can pick either team, Jared. I can tell Jared was almost a little tissy.
I do like Taysom Hill a lot.
So
That's
ahead,
a great
Jared.
number. I would say the Cowboys guy I was going to give out was Dalton Schultz. He's kind of been the everyman in the red zone for this Cowboys team. I know Ross really likes Tony Pollard. That was probably my second choice. But I think Dalton Schultz, that's a good number at plus 160 for a guy that's been very, very active in the red zone for Dallas this year.
I am going with Tony Pollard because he is better than Zeke Elliott. And I don't believe Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones or whichever Jones guy said it's going to be a full heavy workload for Zeke. I think they're full of CRAP. I like Tony Pollard to score.
I think the other one I'll give for the Saints, and this is a pending, wait to see what the running back situation, the news of the running back situation is on Thursday, who's active. Are we getting reports on who's going to get a bigger workload? I would say if both guys are active, I would lean Ingram because I think he's more of a red zone bulldozer than Kamara. But if it's Kamara active and not Ingram, obviously take Kamara. But those odds will move significantly if one's active and not the other. So I guess if I had to pick, I'd take the better odds with Ingram. But again, wait to see who's active and what kind of practice report, target share report you can glean from the Thursday night activity.
Well, gentlemen, that'll do it for us. I hope everybody was listening and taking down the information and processing it. And you don't, once again, this is the NFL. Do not bet every game. We told you that countless times throughout this show. Listen to what Jared said. Listen to what Ross said. Put it together. Then you make your wagers. And on top of that, earn 100 free bucks courtesy of Pickswise. There's an easy way to do it on our YouTube channel. Comment your number one best bet, and Pickswise is going to randomly select a subscribing commenter. So you have to hit the subscribe button, and you say, this is my number one best bet, and it's got to be done by 12:30 Eastern on Sunday. It means you can't pick the Thursday game. Don't do that. And it's that simple. All right? So for Ross Tucker, for Jared Smith, for our outstanding producer, Jack, I am Chris Rose. We'll see you next time on Pickswise Playbook. Now, go
win some dough!